Well, howdy, and welcome once again to Hooked on Oregon, and we are thrilled to have you aboard today. We are once again broadcasting from the ubiquitous, wonderful, beautiful Mel Campbell's house in Charleston. She booted us out of her bedroom, and we're in the front room, and we've got quite a crew today. So a lot of fun. We have Marseille Fullerton is joining us from Tioga, and lots of fun things on Fern Feather.
Things going on.
Looking forward to that today. Who is the tan gentleman sitting next to
Well, I
you?
don't know if I
He
want
doesn't look familiar.
to.
I had a couple stripper jobs going on, so I had to miss a couple of weeks. I think you're being kind of hard on me. and stuff, so.
We talked about that last week. That
I'm sure
you're,
you did.
You're a man who's not afraid to admit the Brazilian butt lift, that had the jaws worked on.
Right.
You look good in the spray
Yeah.
tan, the George Hamilton spray tan.
Worked great.
I did not recognize.
You should try it.
Took 25 years off.
It can cover cuts even on your face. The
He's
spray
sitting
tan,
here
yeah.
going, I remember these horrible days. The man who was co-host for how many years? And
Couldn't
you're
even
still
tell
alive.
you.
It's
Yeah.
uncountable.
It's been a while.
You will. My God, you started out with Richard DeChambeau.
Yeah, back in a funny little studio in Coquille at the KWRO studio.
That's
there.
right.
I think it still had shag carpet in it.
I heard you on the air
Yeah.
before I ever met you, and I was laughing. I was fixing a barn roof, and I was laughing so hard I almost fell off. And so that was before we met.
Yeah, it's been a while
So
back.
that, yeah, a number of years. Mark Flack, of course, from
Glad to be
England.
here.
Yeah, that's great to see you. And my buddy Steve from it's the Historical and Maritime Museum in Coos Bay, right?
right.
Yeah. And my gosh, how many years have you been associated with them?
I started in 1999 on the board,
Wow.
so it's over 20 years now.
Oh, that's incredible. That was wonderful. You and I started working together when
That's right.
we
We
were
were
very
fundraising and
yeah,
building the thing.
when the whole thing was an idea. And
Right.
what fun that was.
Yeah,
And
right.
what a beautiful museum we have now, too.
It's doing well.
So we'll have fun talking about that because you were, how many years a school teacher in Coos
I was
Bay?
32 years in North Bend High School.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Taught some Atachek kids.
Yeah, he was also was my basketball coach.
That's right.
And a good one too. So we did some damage.
Yeah.
So I've got a little residue in this town.
Oh man, yeah, but all good stuff.
Yeah.
All really, really good stuff. And of course, sand surfers here, Jeff, and you were out on the sand this morning, soaking in the sun.
I'm just hanging out at the beach all day. It was awesome.
Oh, beautiful out there. Great time to go.
It was an awesome time to go.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah.
We gotta get out there again. Get
I
the
know,
Forerunners.
we
That
did.
was way fun.
I know.
Enjoyed that.
We need to get the marks out there and
Mhm.
go rip and tear.
Oh, we had fun going sideways up the dunes that you're not supposed to go on. That was way fun.
It's not
I
illegal-
wasn't driving. I
It's
was-
not illegal till you get caught, man.
That's right.
We're good.
I was just strapped in and watching. I thought that's what you did all the time.
I do.
Oh, it was way fun. Well, we're going to talk. We've got a bunch of things we wanted to talk about, but Mark Fleck is here because Mark has been so involved with Charleston and our fishing
Yeah.
fleet, our commercial fishing community, our sport fishing community, England Marine and Chorus.
Oh, yeah.
Your family. How many years? Over 75?
Yeah. So 1944, so we're shoving 80.
Wow.
Wow,
That's incredible. That's unheard of
So-
anymore to have a family-run business last that long and be that strong.
Yeah, I guess it is becoming a little more rare these days. You know, it seems like a lot of those businesses, or a lot of them, have kind of aged out, where they didn't have people
Right.
coming in behind, or family members coming in behind to kind of keep things going. And so, yeah, it is. It's something to be proud of. That's
Oh,
for
it's
sure.
huge to be proud of. And you guys have survived because you've stayed so relevant. You've adjusted to the market trends. You've changed up your game. I mean, look at the England Marine you had now compared to the one you had 20 years ago.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of funny. We were talking about it the other day, where you know, customers used to come in and they would ask, you know, do you ever miss the kind of the nostalgia of the old store? And I'm like, absolutely not. That place was, it was filthy.
It was freezing.
Oh yeah, and Emery's geese would want to come in the,
Oh,
you know, the back door, and they'd make a mess in the store. It was just, you know, there's nothing about that I miss. Just to be clear, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, we've had to really change and adapt and fluctuate through the years to kind of keep you know, kind of a strong business going, and that's kind of what it takes. And we've been pretty fortunate because of kind of the leadership, I think, believe in our company, and
Oh, yeah.
you know, we've done some pretty smart moves, and
Yeah. You guys are all the way from Eureka, California, all the way up into Washington.
yeah, and so our reach really goes beyond that. We have 3 wholesale warehouses. We have one in Phoenix, Arizona, Tempe. one in
Big tuna area.
Portland, yeah. And then we have one in Missoula, Montana, which is kind of the craziest
Did you get to
thing.
go to that one?
But no, but I'd love to. I've always threatened to go, you know,
I
a
want to
business
run
trip with
when
my
you guys
fly
start,
rod.
start the store in Tofino. I want to run that.
There you go.
I'm there.
So with those are our, say, our wholesale warehouses, and then we have salespeople that basically reach out from there. So I mean, we go all the way out into the Midwest, clear down into Southern California, work our way all the way up, and even into Alaska on our wholesale side.
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
it is. It's amazing. And then we have a pretty good online audience or you know customer base now too, and where you know I think we've shipped into every state now.
Well, don't you help
and it's-
outfit the Deadliest Catch guys too? They're around once in a while. I know
Yeah,
you've
we
been in
do
your
see
shop.
some of those guys
Yeah.
once in a while. They'll, you know, if they're doing a haul out up at the
Yeah.
Fredwall shipyard or
Yeah.
that sort of
That's
thing.
way
So
cool.
yeah, it is cool. We do get some characters.
Well, you only have one real drag on the entire corporation, and that's your Newport store. And, just hasn't cut it. But I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's more management than
Yeah, I
the
think
store.
it is.
Here we go.
Here we go. This is where this is where
Well, no,
brother
I was
Dean and
gonna
I
make
pick
sure
on
you
each other. Oh
mentioned that.
yeah, no, I still do that. I send people up there all the time that come down and say, "Oh, I know your brother in Newport." No, that's my father.
Right.
You know, oh yeah, and then they go up, "Oh, I met your son down in Charleston." You know, yeah, he hates that.
Priceless. MasterCard moment.
Right.
Now we're dealing with some. It's not just interesting. That's not a strong enough word. Some real difficulty in seafood processing now, because there's some regulatory change, administrative rule changes, that could put a lot of our seafood processors out of business in
Yeah.
the state of Oregon. And I don't know if everybody watching is familiar with that, but there's new water quality standards. And the thing that's amazing about our seafood processing, it's so important to us because it's such a huge part of the economy. Right here, just our shrimp fishery is over $18 million a year. I mean, think about that. You know, it's incredible.
It's a huge-
And you look
Actually,
at
it was
multipliers,
Yeah, in 2022 it was closer to $19 million.
and that's got to have at least a 3 multiplier
That's-
on it. That's like 60
Right.
million benefit.
Because I mean, you're creating money. You're creating it. It has a different economic multiplier when you're harvesting from the ocean, and the way that goes out into the economy here locally. I mean, it turns into what I call gold.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And-
absolutely.
And it has a rippling effect. And again, I think with these type of regulations on our seafood processing, if we just start closing one little plant here, one plant there, that has that same negative rippling effect right back through the economy. And that's kind of where we could potentially be heading right now, unless something
Changes at
changes.
state level.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because from what we found out, and I've talked to some of our processors, and there's protests, there's lawsuits floating now, a lot of different things over this new administrative rule change. But basically, what it is they want our processors to have better exit water than drinking water.
Right.
And that standard is pretty incredible. And the problem is not the treated remains of seafood when you finish processing it. That's not the problem. The problem that gives them the inability to make that standard is because the water they use from the city does not
Doesn't
reach
even-
that standard.
That's right.
And so there's no way that they can get there. And what a horrible impact in terms of jobs, in terms of our fleet having to go deliver to California or to Washington instead of being able to process here. I mean, it's kind of incalculable.
Well, and then you think about the amount of jobs. There's 120 jobs associated with, for example, Pacific Seafood or our Banner Pacific here
Right.
locally, and that doesn't even include, say, some of the outside, truckers and some of those kind of things that go along with the seafood industry, and not only that, but a plant like Banner Pacific, they work together with our other plants and our other fish buyers. This isn't like everybody for themselves. When our ice plant broke down, they step up
It's
and they
one
were
for all.
icing. That's right.
Yeah.
They were icing the Hallmark boats or whoever needed help. I mean, that's just how it's always kind of been. And when you get, you know, one little, you know, plant like that, or one big plant that takes those kind of jobs out, you know, just like that, I mean, that has some serious economic effect here, and I don't know how you get that back. We don't know if, you know, if we're gonna see immediate closures. We're really not sure, but there's definitely a chance that we'll see
and
that.
the thing, you know, we've always, because of course my business is wild fish, you know, and propagating wild fish and doing habitat rehabilitation and restoration, and so acutely aware of our water qualities out here, and our processors have always gone above and beyond to make sure that they're doing the best possible job and making sure the
You know,
environment's clean, and they're doing an amazing job processing.
Exactly, and I don't know if you've been into one of those seafood plants over there, but literally when you walk in, you practically have to take your shoes off.
Right.
I mean, you gotta step in soapy water, and you gotta do, you know, and you don't just go, you know, if you go into a certain part of the plant, you may have to do the same thing. You're gonna rinse back off, go into another
There's a
plant.
much stricter protocol than going into the ER or an ICU of a hospital
You're right.
to go over
You're
there
exactly
where they're
right.
processing seafood.
You're exactly right, and it's unbelievable to me that we're here, that it happened this quickly. Now, this isn't something that just came around. This has been happening for years. Now, the way that I understand this, and I'm going to read a little bit. This is basically some testimony from Lori Steele that she addressed yesterday. As a matter of fact, that's what they had, the water quality meeting yesterday, and this was in front of the House Committee on Climate and Energy and all that kind of stuff yesterday. So, but the big part of this, I guess, the real kicker is, and I'll just read from her, it just says, DEQ has now begun to develop individual permits for some seafood processing facilities and is suddenly imposing restrictive limits on metals like copper, mercury, and nickel. Okay, so these limits were never proposed or vetted publicly during the permit renewal process, okay?
Which was a lengthy process.
Yeah, and so now they've taken the industry completely by surprise, and of course these present like major problems. So the seafood processors, they do not add, use, or manufacture metals in their operations. And the limits being imposed by DEQ for many of the metals are much lower, like you were talking about, than the levels allowed in drinking water by the EPA. No other state nor any other country in the world has applied requirements for metals like these to seafood processors.
Well, that's typically for mining.
Exactly.
That's where those come into play.
So this is where I think, you know, you just kind of step back and you're just like, I don't understand it. I mean, I hate to even say it, but I mean, it's almost as if our state is just saying, you know, we're not really sure we want to have loggers in the woods or fishermen in the ocean anymore. I mean, I just absolutely cannot wrap my mind around, you know, that kind of a move for something that, you know, for this state is so important as a whole.
Kind of like, you know, kind of built the state was the loggers and the fishermen. You know,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
Well, it's as shocking as when Howard said they didn't want electricity or phones anymore. I mean,
that was a hard hill to climb right there. That was great.
it's the same sort. But no, it is. You start to think about that. You know, you think, you say to yourself, that can't be possible. It just can't be, because it's such a huge part of our local economy. But you wonder, because you got to ask the question: where's the common sense in the room? Or if you're going to try and do something like this, you have the conversations where you phase something like this in, you talk about, you'd find out that it's not, you're gonna have to go back to the source water, you're gonna have to talk to the city of Coos Bay to be able to accomplish that.
Exactly.
Instead of at the end of the chain, where your processor is, that's utilizing water that couldn't possibly make those standards.
So a good example of that, of course, the crabbers are dealing with this whale entanglement problem, which is, you know, kind of, it's really not that big of an issue in the sense of Oregon crabbers have not entangled very many whales. We are just having to kowtow and go along with this program to appease and be able to keep the seasons open and keep fishing. So there's an entire committee, all right, that are trying to set up some rules and restrictions and things regarding this, and a lot of it is changing everybody's crab gear in order to have the same colored, ropes for California versus Oregon versus Washington. So from an airplane or something, if there is a whale that's entangled, they go, oh gee, that came from, So, but the state did recognize that it got to the point where it's like, wow, it's gonna cost commercial fishermen a lot of money to be able to mark their ropes and do it in a way that and come in compliance. And exactly. And so finally they just took a time out and said, look, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna implement this rule, but we're not gonna do it until the 27-28 season, and that gives them time to rotate.
Time to adjust.
And try to adjust and try to make. That's right. But this is a little bit different and has
it's a lot different.
much
and
larger.
I'm hopeful. There are some really good people in DEQ. We've had some wonderful success this year on salmon bills, and environmental bills at the legislative level, where they've helped us with the language. They've really had some common sense. And I don't know that they've had the opportunity to think this out, or the folks that we've been so fortunate to work with have had a chance to look at this. And I think as it gets elevated, I think they'll realize that this could be absolutely, completely economically devastating to the coast.
Yep.
Not just Charleston,
No.
all the way up, all the way to the Columbia River.
Yep.
And because it's just, you think about it, where's the pause, and why wasn't this discussed when we had public hearings? It should have been right on the table. Hey guys, this is something either the feds are ramming it down, and we've got to make sure that we comply with new federal standards, or this is something we think is critically important, so let's talk about it right now. Here's our opportunity to talk about it. But it's my understanding none of that happened with this.
No, and this is some testimony that I thought was also interesting too, and this came from a guy named Stephen Hammer, and anyway, he's basically an environmental consultant that has been in this industry forever, and under his opinion, he says it's impossible for seafood processors to meet these limits. Impossible.
That's what I've been hearing from everybody I've been talking to in the industry.
Yeah, and especially when you look at for what it would take for the equipment, the expense, and just, for example, if you look at the Newport waterfront down there, there is no room for them to expand to do this.
Right.
If, to put in the type of facility or, that it would take, and to keep that operational down there, there's not room. And most of our ports are very limited, just like our port here. I mean, we are very limited for space, for anything, for a parking space, in the summertime.
It's interesting too, Mark, if you think about it. If you go to a grocery store, any grocery store, Safeway, Fred Meyer, whatever, and you go to the seafood shelf, where you're talking processed canned seafood, and it's from all over the world, from China, from Thailand,
Chile,
the Philippines, Chile, the list goes on and on. The standards under which that seafood is being processed that you and I are buying don't come within a million miles of what's required out here. Yet here we could lose the whole industry because of overreach on the standards.
So you could almost parallel that to, let's say, the timber industry. So right now, I mean, we are reaching a point right now where it's not cost effective for our local loggers to go harvest timber because of costs and because of all the restrictions and all the what it takes in order to comply.
You have to go big or go home.
Right. But at the same token, our government is we're bringing Canadian logs in here and competing against our
subsidized
timber market. So it's the same thing. So are we going to force all these regulations on our own processors, and then we're going to compete with foreign fish that's coming in here? It doesn't. It does not make sense.
And the sad thing is we can have a resilient economy with strong environmental protections and pull this all off. But when something like this happens and it comes so suddenly as an administrative rule change, that's what's impossible
Yeah.
to be able to deal with. Well, the industry really would like people to respond. Well, here, Mel, you talk though, because you had a great question. I know you've been real concerned about this.
Oh, terribly concerned. It's the whole economy. Charleston will be a ghost town by the time they do that. The windmills out in the ocean. And then I wanted to ask you if you knew about what the procedure is on a proposed rendering facility in Charleston.
I don't. That was, I think, part of the Port of Coos Bay that was looking at something like that in order to process fish waste and that sort of thing.
But our processors will be gone, but we'll have a nice rendering plant.
Yeah,
It'll be
exactly.
wonderful.
Yeah, so that's a good point. And yeah, there's no reason to have a rendering plant if we can't have a fish plant to bring.
Source.
Yeah, a source
We need to
to
work
bring.
together on it.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
for
I
sure.
do. Thank you. That's all
Good
I
point.
wanted to know.
No, it's a good question, really good question. Well, I'm glad that we've had it here. I know the Coastal Caucus is very concerned about this at the legislative level, and that's a real bipartisan effort to try and fix this.
Yeah, and I know I watched some testimony from, of course, Senator now, David Brock Smith, and he brings up some really good points.
Yeah.
And it's frightening.
Mhm.
It is. And that's, I think for most people, when they think about the fishing industry, we have fishermen and we have plants and maybe we have some gear stores, but there are so many other allied businesses that go along with this industry. I mean, we have lots of mechanics and we have hydraulic shops, and of course, we have shipyards and painters, and there's lots of little repair people around that specialize in whatever it is they do. We have people that install restaurants,
Fresh
and all
fish.
that, but just
But we buy the fish.
That's right.
So we need it. I
Yeah.
mean, you need low-cost fish to, local
Yeah.
fresh fish is the key to get people to come into your restaurant. So.
Yeah. No, it's and thankfully there are things we can do to make a difference, and one of them is simple, and that's just go to saveoregonseafood.org, saveoregonseafood.org, and they detail the issue really well. I mean, it's real simple. It's less than a page. It's in black and white. It's exactly what our processors are facing, and they also give you the ability to directly address your legislators. They've got form letters kind of outlined. You can basically craft them into whatever you'd like to say. Won't take you more than a few minutes, but that's incredibly helpful at the legislative level. So saveoregonseafood.org. If you're concerned about this, if you love seafood, which we all do, and you want to keep these industries in the state of Oregon, go on to saveoregonseafood.org and get your comments into the legislature so they realize how important it is. Because I'll tell you, if an issue draws 100 comments, that's enough to make a legislator go, wow, I need to take a hard look at this. This should draw thousands of comments because it's so important to the state of Oregon. So saveoregonseafood.org. And important to you guys too.
Very much so.
As a business, you look at everything, all of our businesses are facing with inflation and then the cost of money now to borrow because of the interest rates. And then you add these things on top of them, and it gets harder and harder to stay resilient in the face of a flagging economy. And there's no reason for it right now. We've got a good thing going.
Right.
And people that really care about the environment, these are the same people that are helping us bring back our salmon industry, that donate their time, that volunteer for our STEP programs, that are out there doing it, that are potentially going to lose their job and their livelihood in way of life.
And when you think about this and you talk to, and I do, I love talking to like a lot of our old, fishermen that have been around forever, and they, I remember back in the day, well, geez, they shoveled all those shells and all the crabbacks and everything right into the bay.
Right in the bay.
Well, guess what? We got flounder and stripers and, big schools of jack smelled and all kinds of things.
Same thing, look at when we were putting salmon carcasses in the rivers.
Right.
The phenomenal runs we
Nutrients.
had because juvenile salmon feed on those
That's
carcasses
right.
as they're growing.
Yeah, I mean, we're
and
feeding,
they fertilize the river.
and we're feeding juvenile rockfish, we're
Right.
feeding, juvenile Dungeness crab, there's just so many
the
things.
circle of
That's exactly right,
life,
it just
you know?
seems so.
He's good. You can tell why his mom liked him best.
His mom did like
So
it.
did my
Right.
grandma.
And his grandma,
That
yeah.
was grandma's
Yeah.
favorite,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my real claim to fame. Yes.
Yeah, but it impacts you directly too, as a restaurateur, you know, because look at the cost it's gonna, look how seafood costs are gonna climb. If our only processing is gonna be in the state of Washington or down in California, look how that'll impact you.
Yeah, and you have trucking cost included in that.
Oh,
It's not
yeah.
fresh, then it's frozen.
Sure.
Completely changed how you handle that product.
Yeah, it's hard enough to do infrared sterilization of your burgers now, can you imagine? It goes a step beyond that. So, no, I'm so glad you came to talk about this, because you have such a good feel for the economic impacts, and the science is very clear that, you know, everybody wants to be protected. There's no arguing that at all. But this reach is just incalculable, and where was the testing that said, we got to do this, we've got a terrible problem? You know, typically when government says we've got to change a standard dramatically, they've spent a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years going, wow, we looked at this, it's a huge problem, let's resolve it, we've got to make a rule change, we have to have a law change, but that didn't happen this time out. So I'm hoping common sense prevails, and the DEQ takes a hard look at this and comes around to a way of thinking that will protect the consumer, but also protect our industries, because they're so important to us. So this is good conversation. Thank you.
Definitely, and that's part of what I try to do as much as I can, is just educate the public. I mean, it's still kind of interesting to me. There's a lot of people that live even right downtown in Coos Bay, but don't realize when you're looking down here at these docks and you see a set of outriggers, that's $1.5 million to $2 million
Business. Floating on the water.
That's right,
Yeah.
and it doesn't compute to most people that
They don't understand the money that's gone into that business.
Exactly.
Wow. Now, the other thing I was going to ask is, you always use the show as a dating platform for years and years and years. That's not necessary anymore, we understand?
Yeah, no, it's over.
You're off the market.
Life is sweet now.
Oh, wait, that sounded different.
Yeah.
Then you're madly in love with getting married. If you're watching, he didn't mean it that way.
Well, it got kind of interesting yesterday because I got reminded of a camping trip on the first weekend of June, which also paralleled to a golf tournament that I had already.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I kind of put that out there as I already committed to this golf tournament, and apparently she'd already booked the campground, and so.
So you're not going golfing, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm camping. So.
Absolutely. That's a good thing, dude.
Yeah.
You want to say hi to her? I'm sure she's watching.
I don't think she's probably watching.
Oh,
but, yeah. Hi, Jody.
She won't hear about any of this. Oh, you gullible fool. Well, no, great conversation, and we're so glad. And while you're here, we should do your commercial. What do you got going on down there at England Marine?
Oh, geez, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we got you live. We don't
So,
always get that.
you know, a couple things coming up. May 20th, we're going to be doing a safety Saturday, so that's where, you know, we bring the boats through
We
and
wrap Josh and bubble wrap.
Yeah, we did that, and a ribbon. And so anyway, it's our boat inspection day, so that's Saturday from, I think, 9 to 1.
Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Coast Guard Auxiliary, and then we try to get the sheriffs there too, and so basically what it means, they'll come
Rowdy
inspect the
crowd.
boat, put sticker on there, and then you're kind of good for the season. It's kind
Cool.
of a
That's
nice
awesome.
thing to know that
It
you're
doesn't
up.
cost anything.
No, it's just
Which
getting
is
everybody
wonderful.
in compliance, you know, and it's just a good reminder. They always give, there's always what you should have or what you're required to have, and then there's, hey, here's an idea, you know, here's an EPIRB, here's,
And it's
you
all
know,
to protect,
this, and
to
it's just,
protect you when
yeah.
you're out on the water and your
sure.
passengers. And there are Cadborosaurus out there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know.
so we've got that coming up, and we'll have some, we've got specials going on all spring, you know, we've gone from the pumps, and now we're into the fuel tanks and fittings, and then we'll be moving first of the month into some life jackets. So our inflatable life jackets will be on kind of a special, and we've got a lot of, that's kind of the big thing now. I think people have realized that you know, if you're gonna, it's number one, it's a good idea to wear your life jacket. Number two, those things they're so comfortable and they're easy to wear.
I kayak a lot, and I'm actually looking for, you know, one that just you pop the inflatable ones.
Yeah, so we're gonna
Less
have.
cumbersome.
Well, and they're way comfortable.
yeah.
That's why people eschew them, but these are so comfortable. It's like
Right.
wearing a vest.
You don't
or
even really know
something.
it's on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it sure is nice when that thing.
Oh,
you
you
get something
really,
nice and that thing
yeah,
pops.
and I'm trying to, as I get a little older, I try to get a little smarter and wear my life jacket, yeah. I start playing this game, if the boat sank right here,
There you
what
go.
would I make it,
Right. And
Yeah,
that's important.
probably not.
That is really important.
Yeah, I'm in pretty poor shape. Yeah.
Well, good. Tell everybody where you are.
Well, we are at 91146 Cape Arago Highway, right down in before the bridge in Charleston on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And don't forget to visit us online, englandmarine.com. We've got most of our inventory
Not Newport. Don't
Yeah.
visit Newport.
online. Yeah, and you can see a whole bunch of cool stuff there that we don't even keep in our stores. So,
Yeah.
And check your
England
Facebook
Marine
out, because I saw that.
.com.
Cool.
Oh, your Facebook is way fun.
oh yeah,
Oh, dude, you got a
yeah.
killer.
We have good people taking care of our Facebook and all of that kind of stuff. Thank goodness.
It's
you
really
know.
good content. It's a
Yeah,
lot of fun
good.
to look at.
Yeah.
Good deal. Great. Live commercial. We don't get those. But speaking of live commercials, we're going to ask Mr. Matichek, what is going on at the entertainment capital of the Western world?
Well, we have a band coming up tomorrow night, kind of a late booking, which is
So,
nice because we.
One-man band again like last time?
Yes. No, we haven't had. I wish we would have one band. We've been having 5 bands, 6 bands. We had 20 people at the Irish.
Well, I hope you thank this because we got you so much business last week when we talked about 5-cent shooters till midnight. I know you were swamped. So
And all those people came in, and I felt disappointed when we had to disappoint them for your sending that false information all over the country. So, but yeah, we have Taylor Dones coming in, and Friday from 6 to 9, and there's no cover charge. You can come down and listen to them on the back
Wow.
deck. So
Very
it'll be
cool.
kind of fun. And then our summer league start on May 22nd. We have Parent Junior League on Monday, a fun league for money on Tuesday. Wednesday we have our Jersey League. We get really cool jersey gear that's like Twisted Tea and a whole bunch of different sports teams that you can get. And that's been popular this last couple sessions that we've ran that for 6 weeks. And then a Redneck White Tasting is May 16th, and comedy's coming back on the 31st. So we
Wow.
had-
And those are really popular, your comedy nights.
well, we did a weekend one for the first time this last weekend. So we had 100 people on Friday and 100 people on Saturday. Pretty much had every seat. But
Wow.
and one of the comedians came out of Portland, and the people were walking in. I said, "Hey, you're here and stuff. What do you know? I'm glad you came." And talked to a couple of customers. And the one girl looked at me. She goes, "Yeah, I watch this guy on TikTok all the time. He has 1 million followers."
Wow.
And so we had a guy talking that had 1 million followers, and he was good and funny, and I'd seen him before. And then we went to his TikTok page, and he had 1 million followers.
See, you
and
would be
so-
good at that if you ever wanted another career. Not TikTok, but stand-up comedy.
Oh, I
think
do
you'd
the
be
first
great.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
I do it 2 per minute, and
You're funny.
I've totally
Opening
crashed and burned a couple
No,
times.
you're
A couple
funny.
times I've been pretty good. Had a couple good one-liners, but you only do it like 3 or 4 minutes. It's pretty easy. Shoot a couple jokes, get out of there.
Yeah.
So,
People ask me, I always say, Mark is really funny, and people go, funny peculiar or funny hot? You go, a little both. But,
Yeah.
but you would have been good if you decided to go to stand-up comedy.
yeah,
route. You
I'm
could
the
have pulled
family.
it off.
I'm the family stand-up comic. So
Yeah.
that's
I've
my
seen
job.
you light yourself on fire with sparklers. That's very funny. I mean, there's a lot of good
That
physical
sells.
comedy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to be a comedian. Boy, they were heckling them. You know, there's that many people in the thing, and they were heckling them and stuff. I'm thinking, whew, that'd be tough. I mean,
Well, I
don't know,
hear
that's
that
a
when I call your house. Your wife is heckling you in the background, so it's get toughened you up, get
Yeah.
you ready for stand-up.
And
Tell
we-
everybody where you are.
We did, and also we finished the heat system out there, and the air conditioning system went in, and the new mural. We got the mural finished. We had Simon Whitehall did a really nice. It did actually Sunset Bay on the wall there. Looks kind of cool. So we have the tree line inside, and then
The
outside.
tree line is really cute.
Yeah,
I got a
so
big
now
kick
the
out of that.
outside, the bay, the Sunset Bays, are kind of brightened up the back
Yeah.
deck area, and that so everybody's really liking it. And then you add the music, and you know, so it comes a good combination. So we have lots of
Very
things
cool.
booked over the summer. We have beer tasting coming and cornhole tournaments and all sorts of stuff on the horizon.
Always
So,
fun.
Yep, couple
Always fun.
weddings.
Food's great.
Just booked.
Best wine list on the coast.
Yep.
Bar
And the,
none.
and the best way to book or see what we have going on is go to northbendlanes.com and click on events or what's going on, and you
Oh, and you
kinda
got,
see
you know, we
everything.
never talk about it, but you have like an apricot ale that's killer. I mean, really good. Really good. I was blown away. That is so good. And it's on tap, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
We have all sorts of fun things, so.
Yeah.
And
Well, head
that's
over.
great, so head over to North Bend Lanes or give us a call, and we always like to see you in the summertime. The leagues end in a couple weeks, so.
Yeah.
There's a lot more
Oh, it's
open
always a
things.
blast. I mean, we forget that there's so much other stuff going on. We forget you're a bowling alley.
Yeah.
I
Oh, you bowl there?
Oh, yeah.
I do too. My bowlers say they
That's
never
so
see me,
funny.
and that's true,
Yeah.
because I'm on the restaurant side,
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
putting
There's a
out
lot
fires
going
and
on.
trying to make sure we can get the food in and
Yeah.
get seafood in, you know, just because they keep messing with our supply lines, so. it's
Yeah.
been tough.
Well, it's always a blast. North Bend Lanes. Got to go check it out. It's so much fun. Well, the amazing Marseille Fullerton is here, a lady that I just love, think is just incredible. You work so hard for all the kids in this county and do so many wonderful things and help raise money through Tioga. You've got a Youth 4-H program going. That's
I'm busy all the time. that's for
incredible,
sure.
yeah. And you just completed a phenomenally successful
Yes.
event, didn't you?
Our banquet was April 1st, and we actually set a record for the amount of gross proceeds, and we had a group of people working together, and then, you know, Mark hooked me up with the sound system gentleman, and it was amazing. Everything just fell into place.
Oh, the sound was great. It really was good.
well. So we're already working on next year's banquet, so.
And Mark and I didn't wreck it totally.
We
Stayed out of
didn't
trouble.
crash and burn. We were better than the year before. We-
And I had somebody discussing with me the Bigfoot excursion trip today.
Oh, yeah?
Because it was actually a family member of mine that got that at the event. She's trying to find, as she says, she can't find enough drunk friends that want to come and do that. So
Well,
she's-
we were laughing because we sold that. We said Mark's gonna bring all these incredible wines, and we're gonna serve apple wine that we made up at the ranch, and so that was a big selling point. And then all the ladies came over after they bought it, and they go, "None of us drink." We were like,
I said, "Uh-oh,
Okay.
we gotta switch the package. We're in trouble.
then we're not gonna be very funny.
I'm sure she'll figure something out. She was working on it today.
Oh, it's fun, yeah, and we will take them up to the official Bigfoot sighting spots, of which there are 7 from the last year, all up on Moon Creek
Yep.
Road, so that's gonna be a lot of fun.
She'll-
They'll have a good
she'll-
time.
Yeah, they will. Well, our next big event is coming up on May 6th, and it's for kids under the ages 7 to 17,
Mhm.
where they come to the Myrtle Point Gun Club, and we divide up into groups, and they do 7 educational stations. They have shotgun, archery, muzzle loader, gold panning. The Turkey Federation is gonna be there, and the kids get to make a box turkey call.
Oh,
Take
wow,
home.
and you're gonna let me gold pan this year?
Yes, and you
You
can
already
keep
gave
your
me
gold.
permission,
And
very
you might even
excited.
get a gold pen out of it. And we have the Trailer of Shame from Oregon State Police, so
Mhm.
people can look at that.
Mark sold that a long time ago.
Trailer
It's got a way
of
nicer
shame.
trailer
The Police
now.
Force Patrol will be there to talk about fire safety and camping and that sort of thing, but the Coach House will be there to cook lunch for everybody.
Oh, wow.
So it's a great event. We have 21, possibly 23 firearms to be given out to kids that day with parent permission. We have fishing poles and tackle boxes and just odds and ends of hunting
It's
and fishing.
wonderful day,
type
the
of
kids
things. It
have
is.
a blast.
Yep.
Every year you've gone,
I have
you've been 17 for what, 47 years now?
40 something, yeah, at least.
I've been
Had a
doing it for
wonderful
15
time.
years, so it is gonna catch up eventually.
It already has.
He shaves real close, so, before he shows up.
But we encourage people to come and it's a family event and we'll provide lunch for the kids and the volunteers is free, but if the family member wants to eat, it's only $3. You get a hamburger, hot dogs, chips, soda, water, whatever, and ice cream at the end of the day with prizes, so.
Wow.
That's
It's a
good.
great event.
That's good, because
That's way fun.
Camp could afford that. so-
That's right. Yeah, barely.
Can't get with us.
And then in July, on July 15th, we're doing a sportsman's show at the Coquille Community Building. And we don't charge vendors for that. That's a free event for the spectators and for all the vendors. But we already have Auntie Elle's Cheesecakes. We have Miss Mesquite. The Scone booth will be there. Y Marina, North Bend Power Sports,
Wow.
and different organizations coming in. So we usually fill the gym up and then we're gonna be out in the parking lot.
Oh, that's gonna be
Chainsaw
fun.
carving.
Yeah.
So a lot of things going on. Just something to bring the community together and enjoy the day.
How cool.
Sounds
Great.
cool.
Well, it's so good you're here. It's so fun to get these updates because they are so much fun. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
and for the whole family.
Well, the most rewarding part about it, and just like with the banquet that we did, is when you get phone calls or text messages or emails from people that are saying what a wonderful time they had and how they would like to become involved because they see what we do and are impressed and want to be a part of it. That's why I keep doing it. My husband keeps saying, you need to slow down. That's not gonna happen.
No, it is wonderful, and you've got such great crew that
Yeah, we-
works, and it's growing all the time,
It
and
is,
it's one of the rare organizations that's growing,
Yeah.
and that's really cool, and it's because you do so many wonderful things.
Well, even people that have been making donations and stuff are always commenting, oh, it's you again, because I've been doing it for so long and
Right.
they're so used to it, but it's definitely, community support is important.
How's that grandson of yours that wants to take the show over?
Well, he's graduating, coming up.
So he's gonna be taking the show over soon.
For some reason, he thinks he should drive heavy equipment. He's working on getting his CDL already.
Wow, good for
Through
him.
the school district, so
That's great.
got his mindset. So last year 4-H,
He'll be great at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I want to see him,
He's a very talented young
Accomplish
man. Yeah, how cool.
yeah.
Well, thank you for being
You're
here,
welcome.
and thank you, you brought apricot juice.
Yeah.
Fresh squeeze.
It's pretty good.
That's excellent. New favorite. I never thought I'd like apricot juice so much. It's passed up orange juice, hands down.
I am enjoying it.
Me too, yes, absolutely. So, we want to give a shout out to another one of our wonderful sponsors, and that of course is Bites On Bait and Tackle. For those of you that follow our website or our Facebook site, you saw a wonderful little girl, Shelby, who was in there the other day, and it was so cute because they got her all rigged up, and Joe donated her gear because it was her big trout trip, and it was really cute to see her. And they're all about, like Marseille does, giving our kids that wonderful outdoor experience that we had growing up, and it seems like the electronic age is kind of taking that away. So what's wonderful is we've got Bites On, we've got Tioga, we've got the Kids Fish Free program with Dave Romanowski, so many things that get kids outdoors, and Bites On Bait and Tackle is a big part of that. They've got all the gear you need, they've got all the bait you need, and they'll put you on top of fish, because we kid them, we say all the guys that work there are fishing fools, because at least one of them is out on the water on any given day. So you've got the best possible report, and they'll rig you up, they'll tie your rig up for you, they'll draw you a map, they'll put you right on top of fish. So go check them out. Bites On Bait and Tackle, they're at 750 Newmark Avenue in Coos Bay, or you can give them a call if you want a fishing report, and that's 541-888-4015. That's 541-888-4015. Bites On Bait and Tackle, and they are just tremendous folks. Well, my buddy Steve is here from our museum, and what's fun was that was just kind of a gleam in everybody's eye for 20 years that everybody was talking about. We needed a new museum. The other one was kind of in a closet by the North Bend Bridge.
It all started in 1999 when we got an anonymous donation with Tootsie Roll stock, of all things.
Wow.
And she suggested that we, Martha Butler, we now know who it was.
Oh, how cool.
And Martha said, you need a new museum. And we traded in her stock, and the Coquille Indian tribe matched it, and suddenly we had $1.5 million.
Wow.
So it was a real push to do something.
Sure.
And it took us, as you know, because you helped us do some planning.
It was way
and some
fun.
fundraising.
Yeah.
It took us till 2012 to drive piling. We've been open now since 2015, so this will be our 8th summer.
Wow.
And it's a happening place.
Dream come true.
It really is. It's
Beautiful location.
we
too.
get almost all 50 states every year go through. It reminds us that Highway 101 is a national tourist destination.
Oh, absolutely.
Just had some people in from Virginia last week. On Thursdays, I'm down there at the front desk. New Jersey, you name it. And they're coming through. They've heard about Highway 101. They typically want to drive through, and they've heard about the Oregon coast, and they want to see the redwoods, and then they head on into California. So it's a happening place.
Oh, it is. And it's so much fun to see what's on display there. I mean, because and they change. Your displays change.
We do. We have a 2-tiered exhibit hall. Typically, we change the second level, the mezzanine level, every year. We haven't yet this year. The exhibit was so good, we've left it up a little bit longer, and we're a little bit short-staffed right now. But I just had a nurse go through, and she was thrilled because it's all about medicine in this county. It's sort of the history of doctors and nurses, and every community, and we're lucky on the South Coast because Myrtle Point has one, Coquille has one, Bandon, and we do. every community needs a heritage center, a place where your past is being kept and displayed and understood. And we just happen to have a fresh new one. And speaking of which, I do want to point out, if you like lighthouses, this coming Tuesday.
Oh, who doesn't love lighthouses?
Yeah, and people go through all the time on the lighthouse tours,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
But this Tuesday, we have a lighthouse nut, as a volunteer here, Richard Whitwer.
Mhm.
And Richard's gonna tell you, we have what we call First Tuesday Talks.
Uh-huh.
And he's the featured speaker at 6 o'clock Tuesday. It's about the rise and fall and rise of the Umpqua Lighthouse.
Wow.
So he has an interesting story to tell. It was the first lighthouse built, and I won't tell you the rest of the story, but it fell and it's risen again. And so we're doing things like, besides just exhibits, there's a lot of activities that we do. We have a called Explorers Club. Every once a month on a Saturday, families can come in and learn about a topic and do hands-on crafts and
Oh, cool.
and usually associated with the exhibits we have. I've been teaching classes in the winter, and on Father's Day weekend, it'll be the third time we're celebrating Juneteenth. We were the first community on the Oregon coast to celebrate Juneteenth.
How neat.
A year before the state legislature made it a state holiday.
Wow.
And this will be the third year of it. Jamar Ruff is helping us run that this year, and Black Market Gourmet. And
That's wonderful.
on that Saturday, we're having a speaker come down from Portland to kick off the Saturday event, and then there'll be something at the Egyptian on Monday. So keep watching our website.
How great. How great.
Through
Well, you know,
sister.org.
what's wonderful is our maritime history is just absolutely spectacular.
It is.
around
It's
here.
important.
And just our waterborne history too.
Right.
Because if you think about it, you know, most of the Coos Bay that we have today, a lot of that wasn't there. That's all fill. it was harbor, and then the town kept growing. And there was so much of what we did was based on paddle wheelers, you know, the little small ones to big ones. That's how you picked up the milk, you know,
Well,
up
it was,
the canals.
you know, our theme really, our overarching theme of the entire exhibit hall really is called Waterways, because it fits the Native Americans to the pioneers to today. I really sympathize with what Mark is saying about our seafood industry. It fits in naturally with what we're trying to do down there, is tell people that we live in an environment where the bays, the sloughs, the ocean impacts anybody that's ever lived here. From the natives and their transportation and the foods they ate and the way they survived to today. And it's a big thing to let people know that.
Yes.
And believe me, more than a dozen times I've met people who are about to see the ocean for their first time. And that always shocks me growing up here.
Isn't that amazing?
It is, and they're so excited to come to the Oregon coast to see the Pacific Ocean because they're from Nebraska and they've never
God,
seen.
yeah.
I had a woman ask me where the water went once because she spent 2 hours in the museum looking at exhibits, and it was high tide when she went in and low tide when she went out.
We used to have
And she
people
literally
visit.
asked me where the water went, and I thought she was trying to pull my leg, but she
No.
was serious. She was from the Midwest, and I told her, "You understand what tides are?" And she went, "Of course, I'd never seen one."
Yeah, we used to have people
Yeah.
from the Midwest.
So-
they visit the house. And
I have to,
oh my
I have to
God.
remind myself.
How often
about
does
these
this happen?
visitors. I
Most
take
days
this
twice
for
a day.
granted sometime, but Mel's beautiful home here is just fantastic.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's-
what a setting! Huh?
And people literally come from all over the country to see stuff like this.
Yeah. Well, the maritime history is wonderful. I was reading the other night about the paddle wheeler that picked up stage drivers and took them up
Yeah.
to Scottsburg on the Umpqua for
Yeah.
many years.
Yeah, all the way. That's how you got out of here. You went on the beaches to
Yeah.
Reedsport. You caught a steam paddle wheeler.
Stagecoach took you all the way up the beaches at low tide, and then they had
get
to.
to Scottsburg, and then you
Yeah.
get a stage into Drain. But
Yeah.
and they called it around here. It was called the Mosquito Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many little boats on the bay. There was a church boat. There were milk boats. There were school boats.
Party boats?
Party boats.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, it was the Mosquito.
Yeah.
Mosquito
Used to be a
Fleet.
big dance hall up the Coos River.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you got on the boat
Oh,
on
yeah.
Saturday night, they'd run you all the way up there, and you could raise whatever
That's true.
up there. And then they'd run you back at midnight or 1 in the morning back to Coos Bay.
You know, we aren't even yet to a point where it's been a century that the automobile was really more important.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
only not until the 30s that the automobile replaced all that.
Well, look at Louis Simpson. He could get to his office in town 5 times faster on his tugboat that
Yeah.
he moored out there at Shore Acres than he could drive there.
We really didn't have
That's
roads
how bad our
until the
roads were
30s
here.
and
Yeah.
bridges.
Yeah.
So it was a waterborne economy. And Mark, I gotta tell a quick story about England Marine, if you don't mind.
Oh, about
So-
how bad Newport is?
No,
Yeah,
no,
we
no, no.
Kind of piled on them a
No.
lot today,
Coos,
so
the
maybe
Coos
not.
Bay England Marine.
Oh, okay.
So 3 years ago, right before COVID, my wife and I were in New Orleans. I'd never been there before, and
Mhm.
we went to the World War II Museum, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
I typically go to museums when I travel.
Sure, of
as you can
course.
imagine. And we were having lunch in their cafeteria, and one of the employees there came and sat with us and asked where we were from, and I said, "Oh, you probably don't know. It's Coos Bay on the Oregon coast."
Mhm.
Oh, he said, "England Marine." That's the first thing that came out of his mind. And here's why: they were refurbishing a PT boat from World War II, and he had looked for parts all over the country. And I don't know if he got a part from you or not, but he knew you were there in
Oh,
Charleston.
Cool.
It's because he had tried to find a World War II era part for this PT boat, which they eventually.
Well, didn't we
So you're
build,
worldwide famous.
we built light, fast boats here out
Yes,
of wood
yeah.
for World War II.
Built minesweepers down
Yeah.
at Cruising Banks where the Mill Casino is.
Yeah.
We built clipper ships here. Most people don't realize there were literally hundreds of boats.
We were the boat building capital of the world.
More
for
than
quite a
San
while.
Francisco,
Yeah.
more than Seattle, more than Portland.
Mhm.
We built more boats at Coos Bay and on the Coquille, mouth of the Coquille River than any place on the West Coast from about 1860 to 1920.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and it's part of our history. We need to. keep
Oh, it
telling
is?
Yeah,
ourselves.
absolutely.
You have an amazing wooden boat, don't you?
Oh, my drift boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that old though. It's only 80s era.
Yeah, but that's kind of a salute to
Yeah, a
the
little
past,
bit,
because that's
yeah.
what we have.
Still
All those
works.
wonderful drift boats made out of wood for so many years.
One of the boats we have on exhibit, we think is the last and oldest handcrafted wooden boat left in the county. We call it the Millicoma family boat.
Oh, wow.
It's, we've had people look at it, and it's made cedar strips,
Mhm.
and it's wider than usual because we think it was one of those boats people would come down the Coos River with produce,
Mhm.
sell it in town, and then go back.
How
And it
wonderful.
was equipped originally with a sail, but
Mhm.
and it was built before the age of motorized outboard motors. But we
Right.
can tell that was added later
Sure.
and had oar locks and stuff. And
Mhm.
so anyway, it's sitting right in the middle of our exhibit hall, which we think is pretty
Oh,
cool.
how neat. That's wonderful. Well, tell everybody where the museum is.
Well, we're down on Front Street at the hoppin' new place called the Coos Bay Village.
Mhm. Oh, boy, it is
You know,
jumping.
Cam, you remember when we chose that location, we were going to be there by ourselves.
Right.
And I remember Annie Donnelly, our director at that
Mhm.
time, said, if we build it, they will come.
Oh, yeah.
That once we established that as a tourist destination, suddenly the property around it, which was vacant for years, became more interesting.
Oh, and it's a wonderful
And the
development.
developers who did Face Rock Creamery in Bandon are the ones that worked with the city of Coos Bay to acquire that property. And now the city has grand plans for sidewalks and some observation walkways between our building and downtown Coos Bay on Front
Which is
Street.
wonderful, yeah.
You can't believe just in the last couple of years since we put another sidewalk in alongside our base side of our building, how much pedestrian traffic is there
Oh,
now?
well, and Front Street, look at that, used to be
Yeah,
jumping back in
Front
the
Street
day.
now has
Coos
the
Bay
food-
Ironworks.
The food trucks,
of course.
Ironworks has been
Yeah.
purchased by Mrs.
Right.
Sauce. She has the 999 building,
Mhm.
and she has another one that she's remodeling. The pizza parlor's down there now. So
We're trying to get, now, trust me on this, you'll laugh when I tell you this, but we've been talking to John Whitty for years to do a Valentine evening champagne and chocolate tour of the
Yeah.
original houses of, there were some
Right.
interesting, yes.
the cozy
Oh,
rooms.
The
They were
cozy
called the
room, yes,
cozy rooms.
along the waterfront, and we
Right.
thought that would be for Valentine's, everybody would wanna go to that.
The
if
building
John's
isn't
gonna
there
lead
anymore,
it.
but the
Yes.
stories remain,
stories-
and John can tell them.
Yes. Oh, as only John,
Oh,
he
yeah.
learned.
Remember, he was the paper boy,
He was-
delivering papers
He was
there.
the newspaper boy, and
That's
he
right.
learned that if you went to collect for the newspaper on a Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m., they gave you way more than what they owed you. Here, kid, $10. Get out of here. So that's when he went to collect.
Waterfront has a history to it, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So we got to do that. We have to do John Whitty's champagne and chocolate tour on Valentine's. So.
He's been a wonderful, the Whitties have been a wonderful supporter of the
Oh,
museum.
amazing. We talk about making that happen. You know, they were there from day one, and they have such wonderful positive influence in this community. All the dollars that they brought to bear and the
Right.
donations, you know,
Right.
make the museum possible.
Right,
Pretty wonderful.
and I should let people know too, in terms of maritime, if you're looking for a maritime photo, it's probably at the museum.
Mhm.
We have 250,000 images.
Oh, photos are fantastic.
And one, you know, the Victor West collection, for example.
Right.
There was a photographer in downtown Coos Bay that for years saved as many photos, historical photos as possible. And we have them in our collection. We can do keyword search, and we have a research room that you can call down and do your own research, or you can ask us to do research.
Isn't that incredible? I mean, how
I get to do
wonderful.
research
As a teacher,
on
that's gotta
Thursdays.
light
I'm
you
in the
up.
research room,
Yeah.
which is just a blast, answering people's questions.
Mhm.
Somebody just wanted to know, there's a cove out here by Shore Acres that's unnamed, and he was trying to find a name for it. That was just 2 days ago. I
Oh,
tried to
wow.
help him. The one between Norton Cove and
Mhm.
Simpson's Cove. Anyway.
Flat Cove.
Maybe.
right?
Yeah. There we go. We'll
I
name
like
it.
it. How much you got then? We'll put it in all the historical documents.
It's just helping people.
$50, you can do it right now. It's
We get
donation.
questions 3 or 4 times a week. We do research for folks. So that's another wing of the museum people don't, I guess, understand it happens. When you go into Safeway in North Bend and you see all the beautiful
Oh,
black and
yeah.
white photos,
Oh, yeah.
guess where they came from? So
Yeah.
businesses, Bay Point down here,
Mhm.
when they did their thing, and if you go into their lobby, you'll see some photographs. So businesses that need photographs for their area, they often come to us and we can supply those. kind of
Is that
things.
part of, was it Jack Slattery?
Yeah, Jack's Lattery, is what I was
Yeah,
talking about.
okay.
We have Jack's collection. We have several amazing collections, and there's been, when I started this in 1999, when I joined the board, I probably could have named 5 books on one hand that were written about this area, local history books,
Mhm.
and they're all out of date.
Right.
And I can't even tell you how many hands I need now, because there's so many people that are able to use our resources, like Bill Lansing has
Mhm.
Right.
himself printed 7
Yeah.
books, and he has one
Beautiful
about
books.
dairies
Beautiful
coming out
books. How
next,
cool.
so, it's just exploded in terms of what we now know.
And we haven't even touched lost gold mines and treasures, which there are a
Oh,
lot
there's
of
a lot of that.
around.
Yeah, right over the hill over here at South Slough,
Yeah.
there's something,
Well, things like this
Yeah.
help kids get interested in learning history.
yeah.
You know, having kids take a field trip to the museum,
Right.
I think is a really.
And you should,
great
everyone
thing.
should know that every 4th grader from Florence to Port Orford pretty much comes to our museum every year as
Oh,
part of
really?
an organized tour. It's based upon Native American history.
Mhm.
We have a classroom activity, a museum activity, and a field trip that's associated with that. And in the last several summers, myself and our education director have done for credit, have done a summer school course, a museum, 1-week-long museum course.
Oh, cool.
For high school
Wow.
credit, and
Yeah.
high school kids that need
Yes.
history,
That's
recovery.
great.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
I retired teaching, but I've been able to still do it, in a fun way since I retired, so.
How great. Well, you've never retired, you just changed your
Just changed
game
my
up,
game.
that's
Yeah, that's
all.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Life is a series of wonderful chapters, and you got a
Right.
wonderful new chapter.
So if you haven't, I'm still surprised after 8 years some people haven't been in our building, so please come down
Oh, it's
to
beautiful.
Front Street and see the exhibits, and, we'll give you a tour.
Yeah, you'll tell them where all the lost gold mines are.
I'm not sure about that.
We've got it. That's what we kept. You and I were threatening to and grab this mark and find that buried gold dust up on 7 Hills Road.
Yeah.
You knew that story, right?
Oh,
About
yeah.
those guys, they thought they were being chased, so they lightened their load by half, and they had 40
Canisters,
gallon,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
canisters,
Right.
flour cans
Mhm.
filled with gold dust
Right.
that they buried under a giant cedar stump, and they
That-
took the other
then
half
Then
with
a
them.
fire occurred,
Yeah.
and they couldn't find the tree.
Yeah, and but it's still out there.
People have been
It's-
looking.
It's a real deal. That's a real, and they figure in today's money could be $4.5 to $7.5 million in gold dust under an old burned out cedar stump up there somewhere.
That could save the fishing.
Yeah,
industry.
yeah, and we didn't even start on sea monsters, but we
Yeah.
will. Hey, it's great to have you,
Thank you
Steve.
for
And
letting
thank you
me
for
advertise.
everything you've done too.
Thank you for letting us
been
advertise it.
Such a stalwart and worked so hard, and it's such a great result, wonderful result for everybody. Hey, we want to give a shout out to Orco Gunworks, and they've been a wonderful sponsor for forever since they've been in existence. And for our money, they're the best gun shop anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. And it's fun because it's like a clown car. You look and you say, "Oh my God, that's not that big a building." You go inside; they have more guns than Cabela's does in Eugene. It's amazing, and a bigger selection. And they have the best gunsmiths anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. These guys are, Josh and his crew are just incredible. Their color case hardening is on a par with anything that was done in the 1860s and 70s and 80s. The restoration work's amazing. They've got the newest, you want to buy a 50 caliber, that's the place to do it. So they can cover you from black powder all the way to the newest of new guns. You want to check them out. They're wonderful folks. They're at 138 North Lawson. They're right around the corner from Bites On, or give them a call, 541-888-6422. That's 541-888-6422, Orco Gunworks. Great people. Now's a good time to go in and Cerakoting too. If you want that done with a gun, they will do it for you. And that any color you want. So, and it permanently protects your gun. So pretty cool. Well, we want to talk a little bit. I've got a lecture coming up next Friday night at the Oregon Institute of Marine Biology. And it's going to be great fun. They do science lectures out there. And I believe this is their only public lecture of the season. And I thought they were going to ask me to talk about salmon, but they said no, they wanted me to talk about our favorite sea monster off the Oregon coast. And of course, that is the Cadborosaurus wilsey. And this is a serpent that has been sighted. We've had over 300 sightings off the Pacific coast. And it's a serpent that ranges anywhere from 30 to 80 feet in length, has a long neck, a big horse-like head, sort of a mane that they think is a fin that comes down. It comes up, it breathes, it snorts, it winks its eyes, it goes back down. We had a salmon trawler off of, and you were the one that clued me in on this, off of Whiskey Run Reef that saw it a couple of years ago, but none of the guys wanted to come on the show. But they definitely saw it, and it was reported in the Oregonian, so somehow it made it up there that we had an appearance by Caddy, that our monsters affectionately called. And so I'm going to be doing a lecture on the myth and legend of Caddy and what potentially Caddy could be, and all these sightings and the people that have seen it, what it looks like. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, the best price of all is free, and it's going to be next Friday night, Cinco de Mayo at 7 p.m. at the old Coast Guard Boathouse out here, just past OIMB in Charleston. And my buddy Mark and his crew at England Marine are going to be providing refreshments and donuts and pastries absolutely free. So a fun evening. If you don't have anything planned for next Friday night, come on out and learn all about our favorite sea monster and see what you think after the lecture, if it might actually exist. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. We also want to do a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Coos Bay Marine, before we sign off. And boy, now's the time to go looking at boats. And they have Honda Power. And these Honda outboards are so incredibly reliable. I have Honda Power equipment at the ranch, and it starts like every time.
It's funny you say that. My mower during my thatching last night finally just fell down. Like the blade is in the ground digging because
Right.
it had fallen apart. And the motor starts first pull every time. And everything else is rusted and
Yeah,
gone
that
away
motor's
from
awesome.
that. But the motor is
Yeah.
perfect. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, yeah.
Yeah, no, Honda's, and that's what you want, especially when you're out in the ocean or on the bay. You want that incredibly reliable motor. I can't tell you, just have one breakdown once, and you tell yourself what's the most important thing on your boat. And Honda Power is incredible. So check it out. They got great boat packages. They have wonderful used boats in it. They're also handling kayaks. We were talking about how kayaking's so popular. Right out behind us on a calm day, or South Slough,
Yes.
best place in the world to kayak. And they have the New Canoe Frontier 12s, the F10s, and the Flint kayaks. So you want to check it out. And of course, their motto is where you never get soaked, and they mean it. You can't get as good a deal over on the I-5 corridor as you can at Coos Bay Marine. So go check it out. They're on Ocean Boulevard. Coos Bay, you can't miss them. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap it up. Wonderful job there, Mr. Sandsofer.
Thank you, my friend.
Once again, great fun. Sandy Messerly, our producer, has been on the camera and done a wonderful job as always. And in getting us a great panel today. It made it a lot of fun for all of us. My buddy Steve from the Coos Bay Maritime and History Museum, what a joy to have you.
Thank you.
And hear about everything great going on. Mark, it's been way too long.
Yeah.
It's so good to have you back.
Oh, great to
Sitting here.
come in.
And your name again?
Mr.
Banachek. That's right, the co-host, the indisputably wonderful co-host and the proprietor of the fun capital of the Western world, North Bend Lanes, and we're happy to send everybody there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Marseille Fullerton, who does so many great projects for all our youth. It's so good to hear from you. And to all of you, thanks so much for tuning in. We're thrilled to have you on Facebook. We look forward to seeing you next week. We look forward to seeing you, all of you, at the Cadborosaurus lecture next Friday night at 7, Oregon Institute of Marine Biology at the Old Coast Guard Boathouse. And if you don't want to come just for the lecture, you got to come to see the boathouse. It is beautiful. Solid glass wall of windows. It looks out over the bay. Who knows? We might be able to see the Cadborosaurus right during the lecture. So it doesn't get better than that. So everybody take care. God bless. Until next week, thanks so much for tuning in. It was a joy to have you be part of our lives. Take care, everybody.